Can you start off by telling me how long you've been in Stomp and what your roles have been in the past and what your role is now?
Yeah, so I've been with Stomp since 2016. I came into the show performing the role of Potato Head, which is a very drum-heavy role, kind of like the rock steady rhythmic center of the show. After learning Potato Head, I learned Ringo, which has a little bit more comedic um, influence on the show and a really, really fun character. And then after that, I learned Sarge, which is the character that starts and ends the show and has a lot of audience interaction throughout the show.
Mhm.
Um, so now my title with the company is rehearsal director for the US tour and performing as Sarge.
Awesome. And do you have a preference as to what you prefer to perform?
Yeah, I think I would prefer to perform Sarge just because he has so much opportunity to interact with the other characters on stage and to interact with the audience. And there's a lot of control, especially with Sarge's relationship to Mozzie, who's kind of the runt of the group. That kind of tells the story of how we, of course, are making music out of all these everyday objects, but we're also developing characters and having some fun with it and improving as we do it, and how the audience responds is what we bring to the show that particular evening.
Yeah. So can you delve a little bit into that? How, obviously it's choreographed, but some of it's improvised as well. So talk a little bit about how those two work together.
Yeah, so the show has a big blueprint, and the show is not necessarily the same every night, but we have to stick to the blueprint. So when there's moments during the show and there's a spotlight or there's a solo, that particular performer can decide if they'd like to improvise or however they would like to express themselves rhythmically or theatrically. That's up to the performers. So there is a lot of give and take on how the shows might change a little bit from night to night, mainly in those soloistic moments, in the moments of transition, and how we can react in real time if another character is bringing something new to the show that we haven't seen before. So it's a whole lot of fun to switch it up, and a lot of us do perform multiple roles. So it's a lot of fun to have those different dynamics change as we perform.
Yeah. Also, do you have like a favorite improvised moment that sticks out in your head?
Um, well, I really enjoy. There's a moment in the show called Pedal Bin, and that's kind of early on in the show. We perform brooms, matches, and hands and feet. And then we perform pedal bin, and it's actually Sarge is sitting on like the middle of the stage, and Potato Head and Particle are trying to sweep into the pedal bin trash can, and I'm opening it up for Potato Head because me and him are, kind of getting along. We're starting to jive, and then Particle accidentally comes in late, and I close the can, and it's pretty fun to work with that because there's so much. How we improvise that is totally based on what we're doing rhythmically, what came prior to that piece, what happened in hands and feet, what happened in brooms, and that's when we get to really kind of develop those characters in that moment.
Yeah. So I assume like relationship dynamics off stage can also kind of mimic relationship dynamics on stage sometimes, depending on,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's awesome. This cast is an incredibly talented cast and also really, really beautiful people. And we all get along and we all have a lot of fun performing on stage, of course, but we also have a lot of fun in rehearsal and how we like to explore. And we have a lot of respect for each other. So it's fun to play with those dynamics. Yes, of course, on stage and off stage.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then also, since the show is about busking and busker culture and it kind of arose out of that, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience as a busker?
Yeah, so I joined the show in 2016, and it was in New York City. And I was in a kind of like a rock band at the time, and we would try to go busk on the streets every now and then when we had some free time. And we would go to the subways, we'd go to Union Square, Penn Station, Central Park, and it's really tough to kind of try to get an audience engaged that's not expecting a show or might be on their typical commute, to and from work, or they might just be strolling around in the park on a date and in a totally fun mood, and it's kind of easier to engage with those people that are a little bit more relaxed. So it's tough to find a balance between doing something entertaining but also not distracting someone from their day or from their work commute, but to have some sort of like interaction with them while you're busking on the street in a place where there's typically, you wouldn't expect a performance to be happening. And there's a lot of that energy within the show because um, everything we do on stage is authentic. Everything that you hear from the audience is a sound that's being created on stage. It might be amplified so that the listeners can hear it in the audience, but it's not manipulated with any sort of electronics or anything like that. It's just exactly what's happening on stage, and we're being authentic and true to ourselves, and really trying to create these different sounds and bring out these different colors of just everyday objects that you would have no idea would make such cool sounds, like a Zippo lighter, or like a matchbox, or maybe even like a, I've got Tic Tacs here that I might play for you in a little bit. But it's fun to really just explore those colors and to try to captivate an audience. And so busking is tough, and it's really fun to bring some of that vibe into the show.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because you also said, obviously people aren't expecting it when you're on the street. Like, obviously, buskers have been such a part of, New York culture, city culture, whatever it is, and entrenched in that. But when you're in a stage or in a performing arts center, people expect that, but it still has that kind of authentic spur of the moment element. So like, how does that compare to doing like a typical Broadway show, or, marching band like you've done in the past, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, marching band, I have experience marching in drum corps. I marched with Blue Knights Drum and Bugle Corps and Santa Clara Vanguard Drum and Bugle Corps. And there's so much discipline and pride in creating this uniformity and this look. When we're going out onto the football field, we're making these incredibly sharp lines. Um, we have some choreography, but we're also playing music at the same time. So it's this simultaneous demand of choreography, marching to the right yard line, and playing music at the same time, which is something that that skill that I brought to the show really helped me, because I could kind of already separate all these different things. So when they told me to play this trash can and then run over to the left side of the stage and clip into the set and play pots and pans while hanging from the set, and then take 8 counts to then go back downstairs and start sweeping on the 1, 2, 3, 4. It was something that kind of came naturally because I was able to simultaneously work all of those different things at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, marching band is an art form that it's really near and dear to my heart, and I still teach. And it's fun to also let loose on stage, because for Stomp, it's more about bringing whatever your unique voice is, and to actually look a little bit different and be a little bit different than the other people on stage. So it's fun to explore that, because each one of us brings in something entirely new and entirely true to ourselves.
Yeah. And that also kind of speaks to, because previously you said, like different audience members come and see Stomp. So how is it kind of, obviously for band kids or people who grew up in marching band, they love it and they love percussion and all of that. But how does it also appeal to people who maybe don't have a music background?
Right. So the one cool thing about the show is there's no speaking. There's no speaking, and everything is just rhythm. And rhythm is really the universal language. We can perform this show in the US, and we can perform it in Paris, and we can go to Brazil and perform it there. And the show is going to have the same reaction, because we're speaking the universal language of rhythm. So it's really cool to explore that, and also let the audience participate with us. We do call and response. We have a conversation with the audience rhythmically, and it's fun for them to, whether they're a 10-year-old kid or a teenager, or parents or grandparents, everyone can have the same conversation with us at the same time and really enjoy it. And there's a lot of moments in the show where we bring in a lot of humor, and it's the next thing everyone's laughing, everyone's applauding, and all of that is contagious. So the moment 1 or 2 people laugh from a joke that we hit on stage, without any words, with just rhythms and miming, it's cool to see that translate on such a universal level. So it's just a show for everyone.
Yeah. And everyone loves to laugh, and everyone loves music. I feel like those are two things that just can't be disputed at all.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. And my last obligatory question for you is, can you play those TikToks you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
or anything else you have?
Yeah, I got Tic Tacs in a coffee mug here.
Oh, that's perfect. Amazing. Bravo. Bravo again.
Yeah,
This is
thanks.
just my ploy to get you to do it again for free.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
well, thank you so much